Our guest, our guest speaker is Reverend Kathleen Kerswig. Talk's title is Does Goodness Exist? Based on the second unity principle.
Thank you. Oh, you're very tall, aren't you? Good morning. Good morning. Let's get some noise going on here. How are we? Woo! Okay, I have to get myself back to earth here. That is my favorite song almost of all time, Angels Among Us. And it brings tears to my eyes every time I hear it. To think about all of the times that someone has shown up for me unexpectedly, not realizing it. Long time ago when I was really struggling with taking care of my daughter who was having some medical issues, there was a group of women who were actually praying for me on a daily basis, and I had absolutely no idea that was going on. It was one of the toughest times ever, and it was when my daughter was a teenager, and that song just brings it up for me every time. And I thought it was a perfect choice. Thank you for allowing me to make that choice. Because when we talk about goodness, I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds, but I think it's a little bit harder to see these days. We can still see it in different situations, but I think it's hard to see on a regular basis. I think it's much easier to spot all the negative headlines. It's easier to spot all of the negative social media posts, that kind of thing. Those kind of pop out at us a lot faster. There's a lot of good going on here. There's a lot of good that's being shaken up around us all, I believe, with what's happening, to be honest with you. And part of that is coming from those angels among us. And we're all angels. We're all made of that spiritual, right? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We talked a little bit earlier before when we were doing our praying about how a lot of us are worn down. A lot of us are feeling a lower level of energy. And what we do when we gather together on a Sunday morning is we get that energy going, and we're reminded of the angels among us and that there is goodness, et cetera, right? So that's what we're going to try and do today, so you can take it out with you into the world and demonstrate for all to see of what's happening, okay? And it's Lent. Jen mentioned about the Lenten booklet, Lent. I saw a great meme on Facebook. Social media is not all negative, contrary to popular belief. I saw what it stood for, LENT, let's eliminate negative thinking, right? The other part of that is let's embrace new thinking. Yay, perfect, right? This is a time, this is where we start thinking about what are our belief systems. That's what my talk series has been about. Let's look, let's examine what's going on here, right? The last time I was here, we talked about God being absolute good everywhere present, right? And I challenged you and I said, think about what your definition of God is. Is God still to you a being in the sky that you pray to? And if it is, that's fine. If it's not, what is your definition of that? Is it an energy? Is it within you? Is it around you? Is it everywhere? Is it nowhere? What do you think? I challenged you to think about what your beliefs are. You can change them on a regular basis, right? One of the things I loved the most about unity, and that scared me the most about unity, was that every speaker I heard was challenging me to think about what I was saying, what I was doing, and what I believed. They wanted me to question. And I was taught growing up, you never question. You never question authority. You never question priests or nuns. I went to Catholic school. You never did any of that stuff. So it was very foreign to me to question these things, right? But the last time I was here, when we spoke, I don't think we were here. I think we were on Zoom. It was in February, and I talked about God. And I talked about, think about what your definition is. Do you believe that God is absolute good? and so on. And we had a great discussion about it a couple of days after that. So that was wonderful. So now we're going to move into the second principle, which there's lots of versions of it, as you know, but this, the one I have here says, human beings have a spark of divinity within them, the Christ spirit within. Their very essence is of God, and therefore they are also inherently good. Really? I'm not sure I see that in people in Washington, D.C. Not all people, but just some people. I don't think I'm seeing that demonstrated all the time. So the question comes from me to me, from you to you. Do I still believe this? And again, this may be scary for some people, but I'm going to say this again out loud. It is okay to say, I don't think I believe this right now. I'm not sure if I believe this right now, or I definitely believe this right. Wherever you're at, accept it. It's okay. There's no right or wrong answers. It's how we train ourselves to be critical thinkers. It's how we train ourselves to be willing to consider all possibilities, right? I could stand here all day and say to you, yep, I have an open mind, I have an open heart, I'm good to go, I'm open to all possibilities. And then you suggest a place to go to lunch where I don't want to go. And I'm all of a sudden like, well, yeah, I don't know. Right? So I want to encourage you to keep the mind and the heart open. And you don't have to agree with anything or everything I say up here, but consider it. Just think about it, right? In this second principle, I did not say in any way, shape, or form, except for this group of people. I didn't say anything about except this gender. I didn't say anything about except transgender. I didn't say anything. There were no exceptions in this. Well, you know what that means? It means everybody's inherently good. Until I meet someone or I see something online or I read an article and I read something that I don't agree with, then all of a sudden I want to lump them into the group that this doesn't apply to. But that's not really my belief. My belief really is that we are all inherently good. How we choose to express it, it's up to me. How other people choose to express or not express it is up to them. We all have our own filters. Yes, we all have our own growing up experience. We have our school experience. We have our young adulthood experience. We have raising kids. Maybe we don't have kids. Maybe we've helped with family issues. Maybe we haven't. Whatever the case may be, everything is filtered through our individual experiences. So we all have different takes on things. You could get two people together in a room who both experienced sexual assault. I had this happen to two friends of mine. And one had one take on it and one had another take on it. One lady was saying, oh, it doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me. I was fine. She was attacked, sexually assaulted. She actually was annoyed with the woman who struggled with PTSD over it. Right? Neither person is not inherently good because of that. They have their own interpretation. Maybe the lady who didn't struggle with it, maybe that was a mask that she was putting on. Maybe she was trying to be strong the way she thought she should be, how she should appear. Right? There's lots of reasons why things can happen the way they do, or why a person feels the way they do. I'm going to bet that there are people in Washington, D.C. who are doing things because they actually think it's the good thing to do and the right thing to do. And just because I disagree with it doesn't mean that they don't look at it that way. I can stand here and I could say they're right, I can say they're wrong, but it doesn't matter. Some think that they're doing what should be done for the highest good. Others are doing things for sheer selfishness. Yes? Who of us here has never done anything out of sheer selfishness? I can't raise my hand on that. I have been selfish at times, right? I want to give you an example. I'm going to read 2 quotes to you. Then I'm going to tell you who they're from. And then I'm going to tell you about my experience of whether or not I put these 2 quotes in here. Okay? First quote says, "Goodness is about character, integrity, honesty, kindness, generosity, moral courage, and the like. More than anything else, it is about how we treat other people." Okay? Second quote, "Human greatness does not lie in wealth or power, but in character and goodness. People are just people, and all people have faults and shortcomings, but all of us are born with a basic goodness." Okay. The first quote about character and integrity and honesty, and it's about how we treat other people, was from a conservative radio host. The second quote was from Anne Frank, who was a victim of the Holocaust. Okay? So here's what happened to me. I liked both quotes. And then I saw Dennis Prager, I think is his name, conservative, the description says conservative radio host, and immediately I'm like, well, I'm not using that quote. Right?
No bias there.
No. Well, the good news is the second thought was, Kathleen, that is a bias. You can, use the quote and then share about it. That's what I like to do. I like to tell you about my experience and where I'm coming from and this kind of thing. I literally saw the word conservative. I don't know this person. I had never heard of him before. So it's not the name that triggered me. I saw conservative. That's all I saw. And I was conservative for almost 50 years. So therefore, I was a little surprised when I realized that I wanted to pull the quote, but I didn't. Okay, so that's just a little side lesson, side sharing from me. Goodness about care, it's about how we treat other people. At any moment, anyone can choose to treat people with respect, with caring, with compassion. Anybody, even if you've never seen it from them before, they can choose it at any time. And I believe it's because we are all inherently good. So a couple of questions come up that I will ask you to consider. Where are you in that idea of we are all inherently good? Is it possible that that could still be true as we're living through the times that we're living through? And let's be honest, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on, does it? Really, it doesn't. Because I have seen hatred coming from both sides. Right? So, is it possible that everybody on all sides, no matter what side, hexagon, octagon, whatever, right? Is it possible that everybody is inherently good and then choosing something that appears to be different? It's something to think about. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's something that I'm starting to take my talks and kind of focus on this. We're going to go through the 3 other principles in the next 3 visits I have with you. We're going to do this, and we're going to keep asking the questions. I cannot emphasize this enough. I will love you no matter what your answers turn out to be. And I will remind you that your answers can change at any time. Okay? The sooner you let go of the idea of judging yourself for having what you think might be a wrong answer, if you can kind of just shove that aside for a little while, you're going to make a lot more progress a lot faster. Because it's tough. It's tough to look at this stuff. What if I don't think people are good anymore? Right? Oh no. What if? What are they going to think about me? You know? I love that question, what if? It's a powerful question, right? It's important to ask these questions. It's important to continue to explore our beliefs because you know what? The more we dive into it, the stronger we come out of it. The stronger we feel, I believe. So this is a random quote from Richard Rohr. He's one of my favorites. The Catholic priest, I think. But he's written some amazing books, and I'm doing a Friday night spiritual practice with a group of people now once a month on one of the books that he wrote. But here's something that I want you to consider as well. He said, my starting point is that we're already there. Meaning, we cannot attain the presence of God because we're already totally in the presence of God. What's absent is awareness. Okay? So take this into consideration when you're asking yourself the question, do I really believe in inherent goodness? Do I believe it's possible? Right? For instance, when you're considering this about people that don't believe the same things you do, it doesn't have to be politicians. It can be anybody. It can be family members. We've seen that over the last few years, right? Families have really broken apart a lot more than ever before because of these differing opinions, right? This inherently good. Think about the fact that God is already present. When I go into meditation, I don't need to connect with God. I'm already connected with God. I call it divine mind or the divine in general. I don't call it God because God still gives me that connotation of the man in the sky. So I tend to say the divine. It's the same thing. I believe in God, right? I believe there is a creative energy source that brought us all here. But if I'm already connected to it, I don't want to use languaging that says differently. I don't want to say, I'm going to go now into the room and pray so I can connect with God. Right? I want to remind myself because the awareness will help when I'm considering the question of, is everybody inherently good? Right? When I'm remembering that, oh yeah, God's already present. Oh yeah, we're already one, and I'm one with that person that I'm differing with right now. These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary questions, I think. Right? There's an affirmation from the Daily Word that says, I am an expression of God, therefore inherently good. Do I believe that about myself? When you screw up, and come on, we've all screwed up, and I'm not talking, forgetting to put the coffee pot underneath the coffee filter and hitting start anyway. I don't mean those kinds of mistakes. We've all had those moments where we have messed up royally, where we have really thought we ruined a relationship or we ruined some situation, or we really made a huge mistake. Can I still believe that I am inherently good? The tricky part. I'm going to add one more thing into the equation here. What if everything that's going on, and when I say everything, I'm referring to the appearance of chaos right now. What if all of that is like an earthquake that is trying to shake everything together rather than trying to tear it all apart? We're going through something big right now. I shared earlier with some friends, I spoke for a Canadian church last week online, and my opening line to them was simply this: the United States seems to be going through something right now. That's all I said. And they all laughed and they giggled. I didn't want to just go into it and not acknowledge it, and I didn't want to go into it and go down a rabbit hole, right? But I did want to acknowledge it. And I said, we're going through something right now. But in the back of my mind, where I was about this idea of what if it's an earthquake and we're trying to shake things apart to shake it back together again in a completely different format. I don't know about this for sure, but I think I would be okay then. Like if I knew that for sure, I'd be, oh, okay, it has to be this way. I'm going to help as many people as I can. If I really knew that, right? Right now I'm like at the hope stage. Hope that's what's going on. But maybe it is what has to happen. For this big stuff to come to light, you have to see it before you can deal with it. And what we're seeing in some cases, for some people, it's ugly. And as I said earlier, both sides have their moments of ugliness. It's not just one group of people. So I have to remember that. I just threw so much out at you, didn't I? And your head just kind of spinning a little bit. That's okay. You know what? There is no exam today. You will not be graded on your participation. But what I am going to do is I'm going to invite you to think about it. I'm going to invite you to explore where your mind and where spirit leads you in your meditation practice to see where you can go. I think in the long run, all of these questions that I'm throwing at you, define God was a month ago. And now we're going to say, yeah, is there really goodness? All of these questions that I'm throwing at you, I think ultimately will help us all to deal with what appears to be happening outside of us. I think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to hurt. But I want to go deeper. And I don't want to go alone. Yeah, I know. I used to have a friend of mine who used to say her mind was a dangerous neighborhood to visit. Yeah. So that's the invitation. Take it home with you. Do with it whatever you will. I'm not going to change how I feel about this lovely group of angels here in front of me today. And there are many more out there. And everyone, in my opinion, has the capacity to be an angel at any given moment. And I'm going to take that with me out into the world. And I invite you to do it with me. And when I come back next month, we'll talk about thinking. Oh, no. And so it is. Amen. Let's take some of this into meditation. And I'm going to invite you to just get comfortable in your seats and just start by taking a nice deep breath. Exhaling out slowly. Feel your body relax. Feel your muscles relax. May the words that I speak now be the words of your own heart. In quietness, I am refreshed and renewed. I am an expression of the divine, and therefore inherently good. I have that spark of divinity within me, the Christ Spirit within. My very essence is of God. My very essence is of Source. Goodness is about how we treat people. We are all born with that basic goodness within us all. I am refreshed and renewed. What a blessing it is to know that the divine is absolute goodness. The source of all love, peace on earth. As a divine being having a human experience, goodness is my nature. I claim my divinity, and I demonstrate goodness with a capital G for all to see. Take these thoughts into the silence. Today I can say my soul is at peace and my mind is clear. Inner harmony is restored. When I get still, I know that I am connected to the divine. There is no doubt. I am empowered by this understanding. And the gratitude I feel for this shows. It shows in my words, it shows in my actions for all to see. And so it is. Amen. Before you open your eyes, just take a couple of deep breaths. Slowly bring yourself back to this place and this time in this Sunday morning celebration. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Welcome back, friends.